I was planning not to wear pants, but then my crotch was in the shot. So as you can see from the title, this is my how to find an apartment in NYC video, because it's really hard and you learn a lot really quickly. This is my first New York apartment actually, but I have lived in like 3 other places in the past, and here in this fast-paced environment you learn a lot very quickly, and I thought that I would kind of round up my top 4 tips, I guess, like the basics of like finding an apartment in New York. Especially this video is for if you are moving from a completely different country. It's a lot harder. Number 1, do your research. I know, so boring, but it will stand to you. It will be so helpful. I think I did like a full solid month of like an apartment researching before I moved here. But I feel like the actual energy of like searching for an apartment really hard, even if nothing comes from it, it's super valuable in other ways. You know, you get to know the market, your budget, the neighborhoods. You get to know kind of what to expect a little bit more when you do get to New York. And even I just feel like the energy you put into being persistent pays off in the long run. It's like karma, you know, like when you really want something, you'll eventually get it because you know you've worked hard for it. You know things are going to work out. A really important thing is to research kind of the neighborhood you think will fit you. If you just type in the neighborhoods you think you're going to be interested in, or even just all of them, just have a little session, get a cup of tea and sit down in front of YouTube, type in New York plus the neighborhood you want to live in plus tour, and it will give you some guy that's walking you around that neighborhood, telling you the good things about it, the bad things about it, all that good stuff. There's actually a lot of estate agents that have made videos on YouTube especially for that. And there's another really good website that I found. I don't know what it's called, but I'll leave it in the down bar. But it basically reviews the street. So if you see an apartment that seems a little bit too good to be true, you can actually type in the street and it will give you the lowdown on what the area is like, or what that street is like, most importantly, whether it's a bit rough or to be avoided, stuff like that. So I'll pop that down below. Number 2, again, super boring, but super important, especially if you're not from the US and you're moving from, let's say, Ireland, like I did. Paperwork. Paperwork is the bane of your life. I just feel like every time you move to a new country, it's so annoying getting all of your tax work and all of your like correct paperwork like sorted out again. It's the most annoying thing, but it is completely essential. When you're in New York, the first thing you need to do, apply for your social security number. Do not leave it late. Social security number is basically like the national insurance number, you know, like your tax number, basically how they kind of track your tax. That's just apply for that straight away. It's very, very quick. You will probably get it within a week. And you know, landlords and realtors are very, very keen on needing your social security details. If you are lucky and you already have a job lined up before you get here that's been confirmed, try and get like a salary confirmation letter, just kind of supporting how much you're going to be earning, because generally like the rule of thumb here is that you need to be earning like 40 times the rent. Like anything, there's ways around it, but it's really helpful if you have those things. I didn't have social security, I didn't have a job lined up, which made it a lot harder to find an apartment, but there's just ways around everything with a bit of extra work. Next thing is your budget, and I'm going to be real, if you are from another country and you're moving here, it's bloody expensive to move here. And I've always been kind of like quite candid about the fact that it is extremely expensive to move here. It was, you know, I might as well be honest about it. I'm not trying to hide anything about it. I know a lot of people say it's expensive and then they don't tell you how much it actually costs. I'm not going to do that to you guys today. It pretty much cost me the bones of about 10,000 euros to actually get here. That's including my flights, my visa cost, which came to about 2,000 euro, and then I brought around 6,000 or 7,000 euro with me. In equivalence, that would be around, I don't know, like £8,000 all in. It's expensive, and I put every single penny that I got from sponsorships and any like side hustle I did towards coming here, and I'm really proud of the fact that I did do this by myself. It's a big undertaking and the cost of it can crush a lot of people's pipe dreams, but I'm here and I'm happy and it was totally worth it. I mean, money is just money, it comes and it goes. So yeah, it's bloody expensive. Number 3, on to actually figuring out where you're going to live. Obviously you're either going to get a lease and sign a lease, or you're going to sublet, especially if you're on like a very short visa, like a year long, kind of like I am. You may want to look into getting a subletted apartment, which is basically an apartment that somebody else has signed a lease for, and you basically just pay rent to live there. If you're coming here and you just want to find somewhere to live very, very quickly, subletting is good because you skip a lot of the red tape. You're just dealing directly with the person that signed the lease and you're giving them the rent to live there. It's usually for like a set period of time and it's kind of indefinite. And as well, most of the time it's kind of illegal, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and it's a great way just to get settled here very fast. And you will probably deal with some kind of subletting, whether it's just for a week or two to a month or a few months while you find an apartment. So it's good to familiarize yourself with different places that you can sublet. I actually signed a lease just because it was more what I was looking for, and there's very little opportunity to find like a 1-bedroom or a studio without roommates, without signing a lease. A lot of the sublets out there are for roommates. They'll usually be roommates looking for other roommates. So that's something you have to bear in mind. I was very set on living on my own. I've had roommates in the past, but I've lived on my own for the last 2 years with my boyfriend. And I feel like once you don't have roommates, it's very hard to go back into having roommates. You get very used to the privacy, and obviously because of YouTube, it was really important that I had as much space as possible to do what I do and do it well. So that's one thing. But I mean, if you're just looking for somewhere to put your head down and get comfortable, then subleasing is totally cool. I actually subletted for a month before moving into this place. A lot of the leases start at the start of the month. So if you're not ready to move in at the start of the month and all of your paperwork isn't kind of, approved, then you'll probably have to wait till the following month to move in. I had to sublet in Brooklyn for a month. I actually loved it. You would have seen it a lot in my vlogs, which I'll leave a playlist at the end of this video in the information eye at the top or down below. But basically this apartment that I got, I actually found it within a week of being in New York, but I couldn't move in until February because the people, weren't moving out until the end of January. So subletting is a really good way to just tide you over, but it's something you do have to consider in your budget because you're going to be paying, that's a whole extra month of living expenses added on, like taken away from your budget basically. So yeah, I had a really good experience. I actually found my sublet through Gypsy Housing, which is a Facebook group, weirdly enough. I think you have to be invited onto it. I'm not sure. I'll leave it below, but it's really good. There's like thousands and thousands of people on there looking to sublet their apartments. They could be going on tour or just moving into a new place and they need to fill their apartment and earn some rent. And it's brilliant. People put up their Facebook pictures of their place or their room, and it's very quick. It's very like snappy if you want to get in somewhere quickly. It's good. It skips a lot of the red tape. So I'd recommend that. Spare room, things like spare room, room easy, things where people are looking for roommates and you can go and see what they have to offer room wise. And there's Airbnb if you want somewhere on your own for a short period of time. You can also look on Craigslist, but I probably wouldn't recommend Craigslist for like a sublet because it can be kind of dodgy. Lastly, New York has fees and you really need to understand them. They're basically when the broker, i.e. the estate agent, in other words, basically as like an extra commission, they will ask you for a fee for the apartment. So it can be anything from 5 to 8% of the annual rent or it could just be like a month's rent. It depends on who you're talking to, but usually you can kind of negotiate it down to like 1 month's rent. And basically, I've never heard of this in any other country, but it's kind of annoying. If you go on Craigslist, where I actually found my apartment, it is kind of good for leases because realtors will go on and upload what they have. There's a little tab saying no fee apartment, and that will show you all of the Craigslist listings with no fee. So it's usually apartments that the landlord has paid the estate agent or the realtor the fee and you don't have to pay it because they want to get someone in quickly. I did have to pay a broker's fee to the realtor, which was 1 month's rent. Luckily, I was able to pay it just because this apartment, they only wanted 1 month's security and 1 month's rent up front. And it was a couple of $100 less per month than I thought I would have to pay in New York. So it all worked out. I paid the broker fee. and got the apartment. But I think all of the other ones were just too expensive. I wouldn't have been able to afford a broker's fee. But they do tend to have the better apartments, so bear that in mind. And if you can, just factor it into your budget. If you don't want to pay a fee, that you establish that before you view it, because I had so much bad encounters with being beat around the bush thinking that I was viewing a no fee apartment, when I actually at the end they were just like, oh yeah, my fee's like 2 months rent, and I'm kind of like, I only applied for no fee apartments, like why are you hitting me with this? And lastly, never ever ever wire money into anyone's account. Never prepay anything, especially if you are impatient and you just want to find somewhere to live as soon as you get to New York. Don't, no matter how tempted you are, do not wire money to anybody at all. Like, it's a scam. Like, if they want that, that's a scam, because genuine people in New York, whether it's a broker or a landlord, they will deal in cashier's check, which is basically like a check but directly from the bank, and sometimes you have to pay a little bit extra for one, but at least you know there's a record where the money is going and it's a lot more safe. So number one tip on Craigslist especially, do not wire money into anybody's account. Okay, so I think those were like my main tips. I hope that helped. I kind of did fire through them pretty quickly, but I didn't want this to be like a million years long. If you have any other questions that I may not have answered, pop them in the comments like I said before. There's a lot more New York stuff to come, and if you are interested in my interiors, on my blog I do a lot of interior posts from my apartment, so like things I buy, things you can see in the background are all linked in those posts, so I'll throw those below for you guys if you want a better look at where I'm living right now, as well as my vlogs, because you would have seen the entire process of me moving from one country to another. All of the emotions, all of the stresses were all captured in my vlogs, so I'll leave a little playlist of those below as well. Whether you're moving to New York or not, I hope you enjoy this video. I know I always throw these kind of videos on in the background. I cannot wait to do more New York related videos for you guys. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.